Welcome back, everyone. Today's subject is a bit different. We don't have a weird newspaper to review. Instead, we just have a subject, and that is customers. A lot of people who work in retail, you can probably relate to at least a few of these stories, or at least the subject matter in general. Asmo, what is
Yes.
probably the best customer interaction you've ever had?
The best customer interaction I've ever had. As a customer or a
Sure,
customer
sure. We'll
service?
we'll start we'll start with as a customer. What was your best just like customer service you ever got?
I guess the best customer service I ever got. Man, I'm really drawing a blank. I guess I don't shop a whole lot, so
Uh,
uh I guess I would say the best customer interaction that I had was back a couple years ago, whenever I would go into like the one convenience store that I had down the street. The employees who worked there just knew me really well, and so I would just go in and I would go and purchase the things that I would normally would always do, and they would always come with a nice smile, and they were always friendly, and they were able to anticipate my needs, but they weren't anticipating my needs to the point where it was intrusive. Like it was like a nice balance where there were boundaries, but also they were friendly.
that's
I mean,
definitely at least good.
I'm sorry, it's very vanilla, basic. Like you could probably read that off of like a newspaper article, but
Well,
that's the best thing
actually,
I got off the top of my head.
the first place that actually came to my mind was a place that I know you're familiar with as well. Back when we were in South Carolina, you remember Raw Coffee?
Oh yeah, I remember Raw Coffee. I loved getting their stuff from there.
Dude, I absolutely loved going there. Like after a long day, just like going over there to just try a new drink or whatever. And like they gave me the menu and they're just like, okay, we're going to start a thing in the future where it's going to be like around the world. And then you'll get your name up on a plaque above the door for trying all of our flavors. And I was like, oh, cool. The thing is, I had already started doing an around the world myself. So the fact that they were pretty much promoting that sort of thing while I was there was super cool. But they were always very pleasant. They made super good drinks. They recognized me. I was a regular there. They're all like, "Hey man, what's up?" And they made it very personal. Like they would talk about like how my day was. I would ask how their day was. We would talk about our personal lives. But it was never like being nosy, if that makes sense, because there can definitely be customer service reps who almost feel nosy when they're trying to pry or get more information from you. But it was
Yeah,
more of a matter of just like mutual respect for each other's boundaries while also still divulging quite a bit in order to relate more personally.
the problem about having a good, I feel like the number one problem that people come up with and businesses will try and force is a good customer interaction is a natural customer interaction. It's not going to be something that you can force or follow a formula to try and follow. It's just going to happen. It's kind of like, how you have normal people have friendships. Like, what's the recipe to making friends? There really isn't one. You kind of just do it. I don't know how else better to explain it than that.
Yeah, I think becoming a regular definitely plays a big role in terms of having positive customer service experiences. Because if you're just like popping in and you've never been there before, they'll treat you as a newbie, so maybe you'll get like that sort of treatment, but it's not going to be something that is necessarily memorable. In order to have that memorable experience, I think there has to be some sort of connection because of being like a regular or something. But on the other end of that, I honestly don't have too many like positive customer service interactions. It's not that they're all negative. It's more a matter of there are just so many neutral or boring ones that it's like super forgettable. But sometimes you get a customer that's like super interesting, whether they say something that's just super out of pocket but also super funny, and then it's just like they kind of just make your day. Um, Sometimes that comes in a matter of like we had a customer come in recently who just straight up gave a $20 tip for a $5 pizza. Like it's not a matter of the tip itself. It's just like, why were you willing to give that much for that little of service? Like, we just gave you like a $5 pizza we had already made up, and you just give us a 20 just for funsies. Like, that's kind
I
of
was gonna,
wacky.
s- I was gonna say, 500% tip, you know.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's not what makes a good customer. Because, like, you can be a total douche and then tip really well. Like that's not what makes a good customer interaction. Like the reason we like the customer is because we like them as a person. If they just give off a bad vibe, or they're just too nosy, or they're just too in our faces, it's not going to be a good time. Even if they're super charismatic, if they're just like in your face and they just have no respect for like personal boundaries or whatever, we're not going to like them.
That
So
is true.
yeah,
I
in
was gonna
your
say that.
experience, have you worked like specifically like retail or like fast food or something, I'm assuming?
Yes, yes, I've actually worked both retail and fast food. So back in high school, I worked at Target, down, near our basically it was like a little bit out of town because where I live, we don't really exactly have any Targets nearby, but like we go down like closer to the city and we can usually come across a couple. Um, I did not like working there. Working at Target was like working at Walmart. I mean, Target basically was like the slightly higher scale Walmart.
Oh boy.
Most of the customers that you came across were like either complete idiots and didn't know what exactly it was that they were looking for, or they were just so out of pocket and eccentric. You're like, what? Why would you look for that here? Like, I know I had one person sitting there and coming in and is like asking, it's just like, hey, do you guys sell guns here? It's just like, dude, it's Target. We don't sell guns.
Hey man, this is America. If you don't sell guns in your local Target, are you even American?
Yeah, and the other place that I worked in, which was fast food, I worked there. I worked at Sheets when I was in college. That was a lot better of an experience. I guess I'm not sure if it was whether or not I just had more experience as just being in the job market, or just being a better worker. But I know when I worked there, I had a lot more pleasant customers, a lot more customers that I would see on a regular basis. Like I know one of them was Tom. He was one of my favorite guys. He worked at the Roar bus, who was literally right across from the street from us. And he would always come on his lunch break, and I think he would always order a pack of like menthol Marlboros, and he would get one of the local whatever scratch off ticket was locally in season. And then he would sit and after scratching off his tickets, he would sit and discuss and have a conversation for a little bit. So that would be a good example of a good customer interaction I had while on the back end counter side of things. There was also another one when I was working on the third shift. I can't remember what his name was, but he would always dress in like the most eccentric like outfits possible, and I'm not sure why he did it, but like every single time he would come in with like some different like outfit, like the Mad Hatter, like he
Yeah.
almost kind of looked like the Mad Hatter, like IRL.
Dude, that's awesome.
So
So, in your experience, then you would say that part of what makes a good like customer would also have like a big factor for that would be just location you're working then.
I would say location is definitely part of it. The other part of it that I think makes for a good customer interaction is when they're not just there for purely business reasons. Like they actually sit there and after doing their business with you, they sit there and spend a little extra time and like, they'll have a conversation. It helps with the shift go back by faster. And so like, you'll just sit there and just I guess BS with them for a while you're just talking on shift. And sometimes it would just be like half an hour, but like, it's things like that that helps you to make it through your day.
That is very true. Although I do gotta say, when it comes to small talk, as critical as it is for a customer service representative to do, I absolutely hated doing it. And I still hate doing it, but I will occasionally do it anyway, just because I know it can make the experience a lot better for the customer. Um, I know when I worked for Verizon, for example, it was a mandatory part of customer phone calls that you had to like connect with them on a personal level, which I always thought was bullshit, but it was just something that they made us do, and it always felt so scripted and forced and just like, "Oh, how's your day going?" And then you just like almost pry into their personal life in order to connect it back to the phone call, which just seems creepy and invasive in my opinion. So that's I absolutely hated that sort of thing. Um,
Hey, we're just coming here calling from Verizon asking how your day has been. Oh, like, your daughter has just like, gotten into an accident. Well, like, why don't you come and buy one of our new phones so that way she can call you sooner?
oh my gosh, that is so messed up, but that is so true. That is some nonsense they would probably have us do, and I hated that aspect of the job. Because you can make a customer feel welcome and appreciated without having to connect to them on a personal level. As long as you are resolving their issues, you have a polite and sensitive tone, and you're actually listening to what they're saying.
Yeah,
It's more important that way.
and I think that just ties back to the core value that I think between good customer interactions is it has to be natural. You can't follow a formula or force it. It just kind of has to happen. And it depends on the personality that you're dealing with. It's not something that you can just like, predict because like, you have so many different people with so many different personalities. There's no way you can possibly like account for every single situation. So, yeah, it's something you kind of just have to naturally improvise and do on the spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did have a pretty bad, like perfect example of small talk at work today, but it feels almost unavoidable. And what I mean by that is this one customer who comes in, we recognize her like it sounds weird, but I literally have her phone number memorized because I just type it in for her on our thing because she has like a an account with us or whatever. Um, it's to that level of familiarity. Like I know her name, I know exactly what she gets every single time. I have it down to a T. Like literally, when she says, "Hi, it's so and so," I will just be all like, "Oh, hey, did you want your usual?" And then she's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay, what time did you want to pick it up?" Like, it's to that point of familiarity. Like I'll just enter all her stuff immediately. I'll let them know just like any special notes or whatever. But when she came to the register to pick up her order today, uh, we talked about the weather, bruh. Like, you know how stereotypical small talk nonsense that is? Like, that
Yeah, I
is
was gonna
just
say,
the classic example of small talk that is so dumb, and it feels like you're just trying to force something out of the other person. But at the same time, it also kind of made sense because she asked us recently, like, "Oh, does your business not do as well in the summer since people have to like turn their ovens on and whatnot?" And I was like, "Yeah, that does actually negatively impact our business because the customers aren't going to want to turn the oven on when it's like super hot out, obviously, right?" And then she was like, "Well, lucky for you, you don't have to worry about that with me because we have really good AC, so we're just going to keep on coming in." And like, she just made me smile when saying stuff like that. Um, but we just brought up the weather, and it was kind of natural, and it also kind of made sense because the
it
weather
was
here is
somehow,
so unpredictable. Like,
yeah, it was
I-
somewhat relevant to. the rest of the conversation that was going on, I guess.
Exactly. Like even though it's such a stereotypical small talk conversation piece, it still kind of made sense with the customer. Like I absolutely love talking to her and whatnot, but there's like almost never anything to talk about. And I know almost nothing about her except her name, her phone number, which I probably shouldn't have memorized, and then her order. Uh, yeah, it's a little strange, I know. But recently with our weather here, it's been like it'll be raining, like just pouring, and then like no exaggeration, 5 minutes later, it'll be super sunny, almost no clouds in the sky. It makes no sense, but it was just something interesting to talk about, I guess, with her. But we do
The weather
have
likes to be bipolar.
relatable. Anyway, so another example of a customer interaction I had was actually with a regular who's been coming in for like decades. No exaggeration, decades. And recently he said something that made us all just disappointed. Like bro does not believe in global warming.
I guess
He said,
that leads us into our next topic of customers we don't like and what exactly
well,
bad
see,
interactions we've had.
this is actually kind of in the middle. See, we love his personality. We just like how he's just like so outgoing and he's always so friendly with us. Like he never has anything negative to say. It's just like positivity all around. But sometimes the stuff he says is just like, "Bro, please don't. Just take your pizza and go, man." Just
Yep.
cuz
Uh,
he likes to get into politics, which is obviously very dangerous considering the politics he follows. But it's always interesting when he gets to talk with the owner of our two stores because they share so much when it comes to political ideologies, and it gets super awkward whenever they're both in the same room. It's just so dangerous. The owner loves him, but sometimes we just look at him and we're like, okay, we get that you're very charismatic, but can you please not go on random conspiracy theory tangents and then just deny basic facts?
yeah, well, you can't control everyone. I mean, I
You
have
can't.
this saying, I have this saying that I've been kind of repeating, and I don't know, it's kind of started to become my mantra. It's that it doesn't matter who you meet, every genius has at least one ignorant opinion.
So true. I have at least three. No. Although then again, I just called myself a genius, which may also be a flaw, but
That was one of the, I was gonna say that
yeah,
was
that
one of
was
the
one of them.
three
That was one of
ignorant.
the three.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, but going on with another kind of funny example, we have this other regular. I don't even know the guy's name, but we just know him as Weed and Viagra guy.
Weed and Viagra guy? What the heck?
Okay, the story behind that is that one time when he came in, like he's a regular on Fridays, so he came in today, but he'll always get our like cheap $5 pizzas, and then one time he was like, "Yeah, no, I like to just like smoke some weed and pop a Viagra when I eat your pizzas," and we're just like, "Bro, why did you just tell us that? Why? What relevance did that even have? Why do you think we wanted to know that? Like,
Some
bro,
people
just
just some people just want other people to know even if they didn't ask.
yeah, that is one of the strongest bro didn't ask moments that I have ever had at that job. Like, oh my goodness. I don't know why he felt the need to tell us that, but we just love his charisma. He never says anything like I guess like unhinged in a way that it would be genuinely uncomfortable, but he does say a lot of out of pocket things, and he's also super relatable. We have another
I'm just
regular who comes in who just always tells us a joke, and a lot of time it's not really wanted because like he'll say a joke that's just such a dad joke and it's just such a dumb joke. And he is trying to lift our spirits and like just make us feel better, which we do appreciate. It's just that his jokes suck, man. But I guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
Um,
speaking of bad dad jokes, you know what the left eye said to the right eye?
no.
Between you and me, something smells.
Bro, shut up. I hate that, but that's actually kind of good.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
I guess we should probably actually delve into the subject of customers we don't like, not just like providing examples, but why we don't like them. Because for me personally, anyway, these interactions are not as common. The most common interaction I'll have is just either neutral or like slightly positive. But with negative interactions, uh, for ones that you've had, why was it negative? Like, why did you not like it? What made it a negative interaction for you?
oh, well, I know for me, definitely one of the number ones is a sense of entitlement, or the customer is always right, where it's just like, to an extent, yes, the customer knows what they want about 50% of the time. Probably a little bit more than 50%, but yeah, I think a sense of entitlement and thinking that they know everything that they want is definitely difficult because sometimes, like, you'll try and help them, and it turns out that what they want is actually something a lot easier to achieve, but they want to achieve it in, like, a very obscure or roundabout way. Or
So,
maybe
what
it
would
is what they want is just like totally absurd, and we're just gonna have to tell them no.
what would be like a good example for a customer you experienced where it was like that?
Uh, a good experience of when it was like that. Oh my goodness. I know.
Just you only have to pick one, by the way. You don't have to.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more than one, plenty more.
one that kind of sticks out in my memory was again while I was back working at Sheets. It was on the third shift. I was in the middle of cleaning coffee pots. Now, obviously, like, the pots are on a timer, so like there's only a certain amount of time like they will allow it to, like, sit before like the lights will start blinking and tell you, like, hey, you need to sit there and make a new pot of coffee. I was in the middle of cleaning the coffee pots and making new pots of coffee. Of course, the one pot on the very end just happened to start blinking. So the guy comes in, pours himself a cup of coffee, and goes up to the register and says, "It's free, right?" And I was just like, no, there's a pot of coffee of fresh that we can make just for you. Like the label says, if the light is blinking, let us know and we'll make you a fresh cup. It doesn't say that it's free." And so he just sat there and argued with me and let's just say said some very unsavory things, and it's just like, okay, I wanted to say very unsavory things back, but I really couldn't.
Damn.
It definitely was an instance where it's just like, okay, if I ever see you again here, I'm just going to outright refuse service to you and tell you to get out.
Yeah, I mean, at least we got that as something in our power that we can do. But even then, sometimes managers really don't like that, which understandable, but still. I know when it comes to interactions like that, it can be kind of difficult to handle, but I think over many years of customer service, I have inadvertently kind of developed the skill in order to tell a customer no without their getting upset. Unless they're just so completely irrationally angry to begin with, where it just doesn't work, no matter who's talking to them. You could be like a hostage negotiator and you wouldn't be able to talk them down. We're talking that level of just pure insanity on their part. But I even get to the point where, so like you mentioned, customers always think they know it all, right? They just they'll waltz in like they just own the place, and then they'll say something incredibly stupid and then just say it with a complete straight face because they think they know better than the people who literally work there.
I
Like,
feel like
these
that's the
customers
worst
are
part.
entering our domains. These are our domains that they are entering. Essentially, they are at our mercy, but they pretend to be the ones in charge as opposed to coming to us for our service to make what they are asking for.
I know, and I feel like that's the worst part is like, when I have those customers with a sense of entitlement, they'll always say it with like the straightest face ever. And it's just like, bro, are you for real? Like, come on.
Yeah,
You're not all that in a bag of chips. Like, I'm sorry.
I absolutely hate that. And on the customer end of that, though, I will say there have been times where I remember the customer service actually being in the wrong. But even then, whenever I approached a situation like that, I would try to approach it with grace and a lot of just like, okay, they are working in a job that probably doesn't, you know, treat them as well, and there are plenty of other customers who are going to be bitching at them, making them feel uncomfortable. I don't want to put them in that position, but I still do want to get the service that I am asking for, and I don't want to feel like I'm being, you know, taken advantage of or whatever. At the same time, though, when you are on the customer service end where you are the one providing the service, it can feel a lot like you're kind of just being shit on for no reason. And it's kind of hard to gauge a sort of balance with that. Like, at what point is it too far as a customer, and at what point is it too far as a customer service rep?
Yeah, and
Um, yeah,
to wrap that point up of customers we don't like, I guess one of the core things about those kind of interactions is just having a lack of respect on either whether you're the customer or the customer service representative. Because I know if you're the representative and you're like just having a customer sitting there and like, complain at you all day, it's going to be very irritating and annoying. It's just like, bro, stop it. Like, we're trying to sit here and solve your problems, and you sitting there kicking and screaming is not going to make us want to help you. And then on the other side of it, where you are the customer and you're trying to sit there and get your problem solved with a customer service rep, and they don't sit there and take you seriously, and they're just like, well, we could help you, but just go buy a new one or something like that.
yeah. Uh, I am a little bit guilty of insulting customers' intelligence and letting the intrusive thoughts win from time to time. I will admit that. Um, but sometimes the customer just doesn't even notice because they're just out to lunch, literally and figuratively. But I remember there was one interaction I had that was kind of funny where I told the customer, because I looked at their ticket, saw that they had a side, and we put our sides out in this like little fridge thing that we have in our lobby. And I told them that they could grab their side from there. And I told them which side it was. I was like, so you're going to go ahead and grab the blue sleeve label, like rectangular pan thing in the grab and go. That is what you ordered. It was a cinnamon monkey bread. And then they start grabbing the red one. And instead of telling them, nope, it's the other one, I don't think icing is going to go as well with the garlic. It's the one with the blue sleeve. And like I just repeated that and just like insulted their intelligence inadvertently, but it was also kind of funny. And they just did not notice. Um, I do that
Yeah,
kind of a lot sometimes.
I've
Like, for
been
example,
guilty. I've been guilty of letting the intrusive thoughts win as well because there was another time. I wasn't actually working at the old job at Sheets. This was actually when we were still in the Navy. Ironically, when I was working like the Liberty Lounge.
yeah,
The amount of people that sit there and would come in and like try and use one of the printers. We have like signs in front of the printer saying we do not keep paper in the printers because if you leave paper in the printer tray, it will start to jam. So if you need some, turn around and there is a stack of paper. And then they're on, like, if you actually like turn around, there is another sign that says paper for printers here. And so the guy who sits there and comes up to me is just like, yo, the printer's out of paper. I'm literally like, I look up from my phone, I look at the sign, and then I look back at him and said, what does the sign right in front of you say? And then he just sits there and rolls his eyes. But it's just like, I'm sorry, I let the intrusive thoughts win, but at the same time, like, how could you be so, like, blind? Like, if you just take 2 seconds to try and help yourself, like, you could save all of this effort.
I swear, the literacy rates are just they must have just there must be non-existent, okay? Because I swear half the customers that come into our store just can't read. I can't tell you how many times we've had like a delivery driver come in being like, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up the Jimmy John's order." I'm like, "Bro, did you not even check what store you entered before coming in?" Or I'll have to explain to customers like even before they order, like if I know that they've never been there before, I'm just like, okay, this person's never been here before. They probably don't know. I'm just gonna double check. I'm like, have you ordered with a Papa Murphy's before? Are you like, have you ordered here before? And then they'll be all like, yeah, I've ordered here before. And I was like, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that you realize that we don't bake anything here. If you are with a rewards program, you can enter your information on that thing. And then I remember there was one time where there was this one customer who was like, "No, I haven't ordered here before." And I was like, "Okay, just wanted to double check because we do not bake anything here. We provide you the baking instructions so you can bake it at home." And then she was like, "Oh, okay." And then she's like started entering a phone number or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay." She said she's never been here before, but she has a rewards account. I don't think that makes sense. I don't know what she's doing. And then I repeated, I was like, okay, yeah, we can have your pizza out in probably just a couple minutes. Because we don't bake here, it's super fast to make the pizza and get you out at the door really fast. And I was like, and we also provide the baking instructions. It's going to be on a little slip that we put in the wrap for your pizza, and it'll tell you what temperature to bake at. Since we are at a higher elevation, and I just went on this whole like spiel or whatever while she was just like not paying attention whatsoever. And then she looks at me and she was like, "Wait, you don't bake it here?" And I was like, I went on a whole 2 minute tangent telling you we don't bake it here in five different ways. What, when did you pick that up? Was it the sign behind me that says take and bake? Was it the sign on the wall that says home baked because it's better? Or was it the name of the store, Papa Murphy's Take and Bake Pizza? What tipped you off that we don't bake it here? I wonder.
Y- You know, as they say, repetition penetrates even the dullest of minds. Sometimes it takes a
So
lot, though.
So true. Oh my gosh. And it's so annoying because I remember we actually recently had a customer come in. She didn't speak any English. She only spoke Spanish. And I only knew like a very, very, very tiny bit of Spanish just to let them know that we don't bake it. I was like, no cocinamos las pizzas aquí. And then she just nodded, like she acknowledged that. And I was like, okay, she's aware. And then she gets to the end of the line where she's grabbing her pizza. And I guess she thought what I said was a joke because she comes up to the register complaining that it's not baked. And I'm like, I was the one thing I told you. And I knew you understood. Or at least I thought you understood. And then she ends up getting her boyfriend on the phone. He understood, like, he spoke English and Spanish. And he was all like, oh, yeah, no, she'll take the pizza. It's fine. I was like, okay, cool. So we were trying to refund, cancel the order, all that stuff, and it just was not working. So I'm glad he said that because that was a massive headache. But yeah, we get so many people every single week, it seems, where like it'll be a military guy who's on his lunch break. And then, like, the second we see a dude in military uniform come in around noon, we're just like, they don't know. There's no way they know we don't bake anything, and we have to explain it to them. Sometimes it gets through their thick skulls, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, they usually just pretend to know and they don't. Um, there was a specific customer interaction I remember really not liking them. And the reason for that is they were ordering. They're placing their order. I was the one on register, and then they asked for something kind of strange. They asked if they could get like urban cheese, but they asked for packets, which we don't do. Which I think we should do, but at the same time, it would defeat the purpose of our selling the shakers on the side because we're technically classified as grocery. We're not fast food, which always throws me for a loop when I actually consider it because it's like, yeah, that is why we don't charge tax on the pizzas because we don't bake it. So it's considered a grocery item, which is also why we accept EBT, which is kind of cool. But anyway, that tangent aside, she was asking for that, and I was like, "Oh, did you want us to just put it on the pizza? Because that is a thing we do. It's a thing that we do for free. We can just put it on the pizza as much or as little as they want on whatever section of the pizza that they want. Super easy." But she specifically wanted it on the side, which is not a thing that we do. Because if you order that on the side, then we're probably just going to tell you to get one of our shakers so you can put it on yourself. Because that's essentially what you're asking to do anyway, right? So they're making their pizza, and she was like, "No, I don't want to pay for that." And she just insisted on getting it on the side. And eventually I was like, "Okay, sure, fine. I'm not going to argue." So I just like ring it up in a really strange way that makes it free, but at the same time, everyone who's looking at the ticket, everyone on the line, all of my coworkers were like, "What does this even mean? Like, how do we do it on the side?" And we're just like, "I guess you just put it in a cup." And so the person making the pizza did that. And she was like, "No, I want more than that. That's like nothing. I didn't pay for that for you to just give me nothing." And it's like, well, you didn't pay
You
for it
didn't
to
pay for
begin
it at
with.
all. You didn't pay for it to begin with, so
And she was making this big scene in the lobby. It was on one of our busiest days of the week, and she was just making a big hullabaloo about it for no
listen.
reason, just painting us out to be the terrible, terrible people that we are, obviously.
Yeah, I just probably would have been like, listen, I know what you want. You want to have this you want to have this like, shaker thing on the side so that way you can take it home and basically be a free grocery item that you can just put on food freely whenever you want. That's fine. You just have to pay for it like an actual grocery item. We're not just going to give it out for free.
Yeah, and when I did give her the side of that shaker for free on the side, it was with the expectation that it was going to be the amount you would normally put on the pizza, which is what the person making the pizza did. He was like, "How much do I put in here?" And it's like, "Well, how much would you would ever usually put on the pizza?" And he was like, "Okay." And then he put it in the cup, and since the cup is much larger than the amount you would have in it, it
It's
almost
going to
didn't
look
make
it
sense.
looks
It's going
like
to
it's
look
nothing,
little,
yeah.
but yeah, that was the amount that you do put on it, and it does cover a large area. Like, think of like salt, for example. Like the amount of salt you would put over that sort of surface area. You're not gonna just fill a whole ass cup with it and put all that salt on that one thing. That is
Oh,
ridiculous. But
just
that's
kidding.
essentially what she was
I would like
asking
to
for.
order an entire cup of salt.
Yeah, like that's essentially what she was asking for. She was just asking for something for free that she was supposed to be charged for. And we were generous enough to almost give it to her. Like, it was so ridiculous. And eventually, she got her pizza. She just made a big fuss about it. And one of the worst parts about it was her daughter, who was next to her, she wanted to ask a question about like our calzones.
Oh, I
And
remember the
she's
story, yeah.
yeah, she was saying like she was asking me the question because obviously I'm the one on register. Her mom was just standing to the side, and this little girl's just like, "So could I get like a chicken bacon calzone?" And I was like, "Because that's not technically an item that we have, but we have something very similar." So I just asked her. I was like, "Oh, so kind of like the stuffed pizza that we have. Did you just want those toppings in a calzone?" And then she just looked a little confused at first because she wasn't sure. She was a little timid about it. She just looks at her mom, and then her mom just threatens her with violence, just so out of nowhere. For no reason, she was just like, "I'm going to beat the shit out of you." Like, that is verbatim what she said to her daughter right in front of me. And after that is when we also had that whole nonsense with the stupid herb cheese shaker bullshit on the side. So the whole interaction was just so overwhelmingly negative. And I was genuinely concerning calling like CPS because I was genuinely concerned for that poor little girl. Like, how can her mother just be like that? But I guess it's just a sort of customer that realistically you will have to deal with in retail. Like, some customers are just beyond reason. They just want free shit. And
Yeah,
to an
like I said,
extent, that's somewhat understandable, but to the extent that they usually take it is not understandable.
it's a sense of entitlement.
Hmm.
Which
Um,
actually, I think, brings us back to our last thing. Apparently, you had an interaction with a customer, it was either today or the other day ago, about influencers.
the epitome of entitlement, actually, I would say anyway. So many people know this, some people don't, but when it comes to influencers, a lot of them will like to come into different businesses and be all like, hey, I can promote you on my Instagram. I want a free meal, is essentially their whole like sales pitch, right? They're like, I'm going to bring business to you, so you should do a favor for me by giving me free shit, which is just the definition of entitlement. They think that since they have a large following, that entitles them to special treatment, which is just incredibly unsustainable and just ridiculous, honestly.
It's like, it's like, yo, Obama was the president of the United States. You know what? He still paid for his McDonald's meal.
Yeah, I mean, this it just seems so silly that people just expect special treatment simply because they have a following. Anyone who does that is just absolute dirtbag, just scum. But I was never expecting to actually witness that firsthand, especially not with a franchised business. Like, we're not a local place whatsoever, right? This is just a company, okay? There are so many different locations and whatnot. We are franchised out specifically, so we can kind of make our own rules a little bit, but only to a certain extent. We still have to follow a lot of corporate nonsense. But anyway, that aside, I was definitely not expecting to see someone come in trying to use the influencer card in order to get free stuff. But what made it even worse, I guess I'll just tell the whole story. So this guy comes in, super tall guy, very scrawny, lanky limbs and whatnot. And he struts up to the counter. He obviously has like some importance in his stride, and he looks at me and he's like, "I would like to speak to a manager." And he didn't seem to have like an angry or upset tone, but I wasn't sure at the time. And I thought, oh, maybe this has to do with a hiring inquiry. Maybe he's just interested in working here because we do get that quite often. Not as much towards the end of summer because obviously, people are going back to school and whatnot. A bunch of high schoolers are no longer looking for employment because they're about to start back into the school year. But so that's what my anticipation was with this guy. I thought that's what he came in for. And I go get the supervisor because I'm like, oh, well, I'm sure that he'll be able to answer all those questions. But I didn't do my usual asking what he came in for, which in hindsight actually made it more interesting to find out why he came in. So he started talking up to the supervisor and he's just like, yeah, so I'm trying to do like a review sort of thing. And at first I'm like, where exactly is this going? What does he mean by that? And then he starts explaining that he is a food reviewer and that he did like mod pizza, for example, which sounded strange to me. And I was like, okay, either this guy's really big and he's getting like big corporations having him advertise their products, which seems very, very unlikely, But yeah, no, he said he did an advertising sort of thing for Mod, and he said he wanted to try and do one with our pizza.
You
And
know,
then he
the only thing that's coming through my head right now is just like, hey, coming to you with another mad food review or something like that.
something stupid. Dude, that sounds like something I would do, how I would introduce a food. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have done that. But here's the thing. I paid for my shit. I didn't pretend to be someone important. I didn't pretend to be someone well known. I just bought it like a normal ass person and reviewed it on my own time because it would be, hint, hint, unbiased. Because here's the thing, when it comes to, even with the idea of
Does
an influencer getting a free meal in order to advertise a business, there's obviously a bias that's going into it. So you're not going to want to trust their opinion because you know they got free shit.
I was gonna say, doesn't that put a conflict of interest if you get all the food
Exactly.
you for free?
Exactly. Going back to the story, he asks the supervisor if it would be possible to do like essentially a marketing collaboration where he didn't word it as well, but he just was asking for money. He was asking for us to pay him and give him free shit in order to advertise our franchised corporate business.
Bro, it would have been easier just to ask for a job at that point. Like, come
Honestly,
on.
yeah. And you know what? After working a couple weeks, he would have made more than what he was asking for. Unless I heard him wrong and he was actually asking for $1,200. I could be wrong, but he was asking for a quite large, uh, a substantial amount. We'll just put it that way, for what he was doing anyway. And then we also had, while he was talking to the supervisor, we had another woman come in, and then she just sat down on the bench, and we automatically assumed like, oh, maybe she's an actual customer. So we go to talk to her, and she's like, oh, I'm with him, and she's like handling all this like paperwork, and we think, oh, is she like his manager or something? She acted like one, but she was just his mom. And when he showed
Oh,
us, when he showed us his channel to like try to boost his credibility, right? Just saying like, oh, I have experience with giving reviews for food places, like for example, the Mod Pizza, which I'm assuming he only mentioned because it was the most relevant food review he's done, because it was also pizza. I'm also assuming he didn't know we didn't bake anything there, so that'd be kind of awkward eating a raw pizza in the lobby.
just
But
like, hey, yeah, you
teach
want
their
to
own.
do a food review? We don't cook it, so here you go.
Yeah, a little bit awkward. But anyway, he's trying to get money from us, and then his mom just like comes up and he's like, "Oh, here's some paperwork validating that he is in fact a YouTuber." It's like, okay, he showed us his channel. This paperwork was very unnecessary, but I guess it also just had like his information on it in case we wanted to contact him. The supervisor was entertaining the idea, at least to seem polite, but it's never going to happen because it is just nonsense. And I'm not going to like numbers shame because that is just a low blow. It's super stupid and it's unimportant. But he was asking for money, which means that he was saying that he was going to have the ability to bring in enough business to justify our giving him money. When realistically, most of his food reviews would only break maybe a couple hundred views, which good for him, right? But at the same time, that is not going to boost business. Even if someone who watched his video, even if they were a local and actually close to our location, it's not even a guarantee that they're going to come in because they have to be able to respect his food review. They have to be interested enough in the product already, and they have to have the desire to come to our location specifically because that is where he would be doing the review from, right? And all these factors just made it very unlikely that he would bring any business to us. So it just made no sense, especially for what he was asking for. Now, if he asked if he could just do a review for free, Sure, cool. Maybe we can just like make him a calzone or something. Just using, uh, because it wouldn't require that much dough, right? If it were just making like a personal sort of thing for him, and then maybe he could just like follow along the line as we make it to try and make it like more interesting and engaging to the audience. Maybe just interview one of us just talking about like the quality of the product or something. Wow, it almost sounds like I'm advertising the fucking place.
I mean, you probably would do a better job at that point because you sound more organized.
I mean, yeah, let's be fair. Like even just like speaking off the cuff, not even thinking about what I'm saying in regards to that, I'm pretty sure it would at least be more engaging because we did see some of his videos. And even if he did do a review of our place, I find it very unlikely that anyone would actually respect the review he's giving simply because every single food he tries, without fail, he rates it a 10 out of 10, or in some cases, an 11 out of 10, which means that the scoring is completely arbitrary and pointless because it doesn't actually tell you anything.
Yeah,
And he
there,
never
there,
has any
there's,
criticism to give for the foods, not to how to
there's.
make it better or whatever.
I was gonna say, this guy doesn't seem to give a whole lot of contrast to the content that he gives. I hope he never comes across a loan shark because they will take advantage of him so quickly.
Oh, definitely. He did also do a couple videos of, well, essentially his being a public nuisance. He definitely follows a lot of YouTuber trends, like for example, the 24-hour challenge that was like a super popular fad. Also doing what was it? Uh, Shoot, what was it? Oh, right, public pranks, right? He did a public prank video that was so obviously scripted and just there was no suspension of disbelief in it. We watched it and we're just like, okay, so you clickbaited us and then wasted our time, and it wasn't even funny or interesting. Like, I'm not trying to criticize the guy too much, but at the same time, it's kind of hard not to when this guy comes in with his mom pretending to be his manager and then asks us for an absurd amount of money to market our food, which he wanted to get for free. Like, that just seems so ridiculous and unfounded. But the amount of entitlement that he had coming into it is the reason why we felt absolutely no shame in making fun of him when he left. Like, sure, it
Yes.
was kind of a dick move, but at the same time, what he did was also kind of a dick move. Just being a public nuisance and just trying to take advantage of us. And he also was misrepresenting everything that the supervisor was saying, which tells me that if he were to have made the video, he would also probably have misrepresented the stuff that we do as well, because he would just like either not word it well or he would just straight up lie because he
Bro,
did have a
bro, if he,
tendency to do that.
bro, if he did there, I feel like if he actually did a review of the place, he would probably end up leaving the audience that he's going to. He would probably end up making them believe that you guys actually baked the food there.
Probably, Oh, but okay, so funny tangent though. The reason we didn't actually know it was his mom at the time, but we found out through one of his videos. Now, there is one thing I actually really do like that he does, but he doesn't lean into it enough. It's just such like a shoehorned in thing, and I hate that aspect of it. But what he does for some of his videos is he will go to a local business here and give them the mic and just let them talk about their business and then give their information and whatnot. And I find that absolutely awesome. But he never leans into it. And most of the time, the recording audio is just like non existent. So when it comes to audio balancing, you can almost never hear anything they're saying. And it really horribly represents them, even if they're really good, because I've been to a lot of these local places and I love them. But you can never hear what they're saying. Not just figuratively, but also literally, because the audio is just so low. But the reason we knew that his manager was his mom was she was one of the local businesses when she just jumped in and she was advertising. What was it like? I don't think it was a law firm, but it was something along those lines. I think it was real estate. I'm pretty sure it was real estate.
It was a
Regardless,
real
that
estate
is
law firm.
real estate law firm. Uh, are you in legal trouble with your landlord?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's such a niche whatever. But yeah, no. We recognized her. We were like, wait, that's the woman he was with. And then we look out and she's literally driving him away. And we're just like, okay, that's his mom. Never mind. Um, but yeah, he posted a lot of videos of being a public nuisance. Like, for example, and it was really awkward because we recognized the places he went to because they're local. But he went to the Target that's like just right down the road, and he just like started chasing this little boy around the entire store playing tag. Luckily, he knew the boy. I don't know if he knew the boy's name though, because he just kept calling him, uh, well, not by his name. So I really hope he's not an adult because that makes it so fucking creepy. Because it was like a 10-year-old little boy that he was just chasing around a Target, and then eventually one of the Target employees was like, "Hey, this is a matter of safety, also a matter of complaints that we keep getting from the patrons here. You are making them uncomfortable. You are running around and potentially posing a threat to the safety of the people in the store, right? Because what if they just run full speed into some elderly woman and knock her down, and then now she's got to press her life alert or some shit? Anything could happen if you're just being a dumbass in public, right? He would do that sort of thing. I don't know if you've ever had any influencers with the places you've worked. I'd be surprised if you did, but
I was gonna say, I think I am blessed enough to say no, I have not had that happen to me.
well, that's very fortunate. Have you seen like any footage or interactions, like just online or just on the internet?
No, not that I can think of. I, for some re I mean, I guess I can consider that a good thing. Google doesn't follow me too closely.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I know it's a pretty big problem. I think with Instagram and
Yeah,
TikTokers. Like those
yeah,
two groups, I think are the main culprits behind that
yeah,
sort of issue.
yeah, I'm not on Instagram or TikTok, or I'm not even on Facebook anymore. Not on Twitter. I'm pretty disconnected from most social media. I am on Reddit occasionally, but that's pretty much it.
Social media is cringe anyway. You're not really missing out on too much other than stupid trends and horrible lingo that is just spreading like wildfire. Just absolute brain rot.
Oh yeah, I can tell you
Um,
that's Reddit for for sure. It's just a
yeah.
bunch of hive it's just hive mind mentality. That's what Reddit is.
uh, But yeah, unfortunately, I guess when you combine having a larger following with the entitlement mentality, you end up with a customer that is just the perfect hellstorm of being a nuisance. Influencers are definitely probably one of the biggest culprits of the entitlement mentality, but they aren't the most common. The most common are just like, I don't know, some old white woman who comes in and is just like, it
You
used to be like
you
$5 less than
mean
that.
you mean Karens? I was gonna say we literally
Yeah.
have a term for that. We call them Karens. What does Karen actually stand for again?
I don't remember it standing for anything. I just remember it being like it was one of those birth names that was super popular for a certain period of time, which is why they associated that with that age demographic that would do that sort of thing. I'm
I thought
pretty sure that's the
um
origin, but I'm pretty sure people have come up with acronyms for what it does stand for. But
at
let me
least from
see.
my experience, I thought it came from an acronym originally.
I forgot to type apparently. Uh, Karen is a slang term typically used to refer to a middle class white American woman who is perceived as entitled or excessively demanding. Okay, we already knew that,
We
but
thank you, Wikipedia.
yeah, thanks. Let's see. Origin. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, no. Historically speaking, Karen is one of the more recent terms for that type of woman or person who does that sort of thing. Throughout history, though, there have been other terms, like apparently Miss Anne and Becky. Um, but yeah, no. Apparently, as late as 2018, before the use of Karen caught on, a litter of names matched the particular incidents were used, such as Barbecue Becky, Cornerstone Caroline, and Permit Patty. Okay, interesting. Uh, I cannot find a good. Huh. Well, I guess it's just. Man, I'm not finding a whole lot about the actual origin of it, but yeah, we know what a Karen is at least.
Yeah, I thought it was something. I maybe I must have read it off of some dark corner of the internet, but it was like something like kid against reasonable entitlement or something or another. That's what I thought it was. I thought it stood for an acronym or something.
Oh, hold on. Know your rights, accuse everyone, request a manager, escalate to authorities, neglect reason.
That that's it. That's it right
that is
there.
a that is a perfect description of a Karen. Yeah.
I was gonna say
Uh,
that was the acronym that I was looking for.
gotcha. Oh shoot, what was I thinking about? Oh yeah,
I don't
I
know.
noticed at least for our specific business, the biggest culprits of that are just old people. Um, a lot of them will I know from time to time they will make comment about the pricing and whatnot, and then every time they say that, all I'm thinking is, inflation exists, right? Like food is not going to cost the same throughout history. It's going to vary in prices based on inflation, and just all sorts of different costs of living. Just so many factors play into pricing. So when people complain about the pricing, it's not like even if uh, it were just the business's fault, it's not like we personally could do anything about the pricing. We're not just going to just throw random coupons and discounts on that make no sense. Just be all like, oh, bitchy customer discount 20%. Like, that's not how that works, right? You can yell at us about the pricing all you want, but we do not personally affect the pricing. So every time a customer complains about it, it makes no sense. I remember there was a customer who came in on a Friday and they ordered a large thin pizza for the $5 pricing, which is, by the way, in this economy, really fucking good, especially considering it's like scratch made. We shred our own fucking cheese. We make all these pizzas, and it's just like
It's not made on
handcrafted.
equipment. Yeah, it's not made
Yeah,
by automated equipment.
it's like it's just for me at least personally it's a craft of love because I absolutely love doing this thing, which is why I like this job. um, but anyway, that point aside, they were complaining about the $5 price. Normally the menu price for a large one topping pizza is like 13.50. Like
Ten.
that's
I
our
was gonna say
normal price.
$10 is a cheap pizza
Yeah,
for a
$10 is cheap.
large one topping pizza. Yeah.
So like the fact that on Fridays we discount the pizza down essentially $8.50. It's almost a 50% discount. Actually, no, it's way more than that. How much is 850 of 1350? Hold on. Let me do some math real quick. Okay. Would it be faster to type it in like this? Hold on. 8.5 divided by 13.5. I'm pretty sure that's how math works, right? Yeah, so it's like a 63% discount essentially, which is
Quick, quick
insane that we
maths.
just do that every week. But anyway, they were complaining that it was $5. They were like, "Oh, well, do you do military?" And it's like, "Yes, we do military, but not on this since it's already heavily discounted. We don't stack coupons or deals. We just give you the best deal that we have available, which would be the $5 pizza." And they're like, "Well, you used to do military. What happened? What changed?" And it's like, no, there is no point where we would ever stack military on top of a 63% discounted pizza. What are we discounting at that point? We're just giving them a free pizza almost. Like, we're just
You'd be
giving this
taking
stuff out for free,
you'd be
essentially.
taking a loss at that point.
A huge loss because I'm pretty sure with the $5 pizzas, we are like on the
Already
cusp of
taking a
taking a
loss.
loss already.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure you're making like literally no money off of it.
Yeah, like almost no money. Like, I think we're still able to make a little bit off of them, which is why it's still a thing that we do. But the fact that we just make so many in such a short amount of time, I think that's what justifies it because it minimizes labor costs if we make a ton of them at once and then we just save them for the customers. Um, but anyway, that aside, they were trying to pay essentially $4.50 for a 13.50 pizza. And they were complaining that our price was unreasonable, despite the fact that it is the best deal you can get in this entire state for pizza. Like, no
Probably,
exaggeration, that is the best
probably,
deal. You could go to Little
probably.
Caesars and they don't even compare, even though they're known for cheap pizza.
I was gonna say Little Caesars is literally known for the hot and ready, like cheapest pizza possible, and I don't think they're even $5 anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. I know here it's like $7 or $8 or something now. I can't remember what it is, but I know it's bad. And speaking of which, actually, with Subway, which reminds me of a negative customer experience. I know, surprise, surprise. You go to Subway, you get a shit sandwich, and it's like, bro, you're the one who made it. You picked the toppings. How are you calling it a shit sandwich? Anyway, we went to this Subway, and it just blew me away the pricing of the sandwich. I'm not going to complain about the pricing, but I will also kind of complain about the pricing.
Ah,
I
yes,
had
the
this
days of the $5 footlongs, which no longer exist.
dude, that is like beyond a myth at this point, right? I remember in high school it was like $7 for a foot long sandwich, which was still a pretty decent price, right? Because it's a foot long sandwich. That's gonna fill you up. But I remember the most recent time when I went to Subway, it was with a friend, and the reason we went was because I was like, oh, I got a ton of coupons. I have literally a buy 1 foot long, get 1 foot long for free coupon, which, like, bro, that's a steal, right? You would think it was a steal. I was charged like $20.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're
$20.
basically already paying for two footlongs.
Exactly. Like, there was essentially no discount. And I double checked. The coupon was on there. Like, we scanned it in and all that. And she was like, "Okay, we got all that." I like looked at the receipt and I was like, "Okay, it's scanned in." How was it $20 for that?
Because you
Also,
got two footlongs.
to add insult to injury, um, I'm pretty sure I specifically requested for her to change her gloves because, I'm a little picky when it comes to that sort of thing. Not because I'm trying to be difficult, but because I literally cannot digest meat, just in general. So it's like, it's a pretty small concession to make. Just be like, hey, you can make his full sandwich first. I'll be patient. I'll wait. I'll just sit back here. You can make mine afterwards. I don't care. Just as long as it's like change gloves. She did not change her gloves. She didn't give a fuck. But I remember my friend who was sitting next to me, he was the one getting the other one. He was like, hey, could I get half of the sandwich toasted? I know that sounds weird, but I just want half of it to be toasted. I want the other half to just be normal. And she was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then she puts his whole ass sandwich in the fucking toaster and takes it out like 3 seconds before it's about to go off. And it's like, bro, that is not what he said. That is not what he meant. At no stretch of the definition of what he said is that what he meant. Like, that, it made no sense. She toasted the whole ass fucking sandwich, man. Like,
You
I
think we're
guess Huh?
You think we're probably about done? We're at like an hour
just
and 11
just about,
minutes.
yeah. Um, I guess to wrap up that story anyway, it just seems so silly that she toasted the whole thing. It was overpriced. The customer service was terrible. But, sometimes it's on the customer, sometimes it's on the customer service rep. It really depends. I mean, you can have someone who just loves their job and just have a shitty customer come in, and then the shitty customer thinks it's the customer service fault as opposed to their own. Because you're never going to think you're in the wrong because no one has, well, pretty much no one has that
Pretty much
amount
no
of
one thinks
self
that way.
awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but anyway, all of that aside, do you have any closing remarks that, like, or stories that relate to that? I guess.
Oh no, not that I can think of. My brain is spent thinking about all these experiences.
Understandable. Do we touch any nerves with this subject?
Well, I mean, none other than probably the negative customer uh,
Yeah,
situations.
unfortunately.
Cough, cough.
Yeah, unfortunately, the negatives always seem to outweigh the positives. But I mean, at least there are those positives. It's not going to make up for the negatives, but it's at least something that can kind of help make your day. Um, for those listening, I guess this is just like a reminder of like self-awareness, I guess. These people, they work in retail. They may not be being treated well. They may just not have adequate training because of poor management. There are so many factors that go into it. Just try to treat everything with like grace and patience when you're a customer. If they are in the wrong, try to handle that situation as respectfully as possible. Do not escalate it. Try to be, rational about things. Don't raise your tone. Don't make them feel uncomfortable or like be rude to them, obviously. They're
Or,
human beings, right?
just follow the golden rule. Take a step back and listen to yourself. It doesn't matter which side of the counter you're on, and just ask, like, would I really like want to punch myself if I heard myself say this to myself?
Exactly. With that, I think we're about wrapped up on this. Unless you have anything else to say, I think this is a good stopping point. Um, do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Well, to the listener, thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Asmo, for coming on. This was definitely a lot of fun. Kind of going down memory lane a little bit.
Telling all my brain
Definitely.
rot shenanigans.
Yeah, brain's a little mush right now, but hey, nothing a cold one can't fix or make worse, however you see it. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Yeah. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Ta ta for now. Wale te miyamiki.